my gallows and build them high. Makes a long time climbing before I die. I want the chance to spit in his eye. Oh, well, they gave me bars, but I can see between to a dusty yard and long gone green. They call that freedom, if you know what I mean. And I dry my sorrows, but the whiskey's gone.
Hello and welcome to episode 4. Last time I tried to do French, and I'm not even going to try and do 4 in French this time. Of Heidbangers. I'm Gordon.
I'm Matty.
I'm Neil.
In this episode, we're going to talk about movies and TV shows, and a wee bit more upbeat, I think, subject matter than what we've covered in the past. But I think it's a good subject to go through because we're always consuming movies, TV shows, and we can't get enough of it, right? We can't get enough going to the cinema, binge watching on Netflix, Disney Plus, all the rest of that stuff. And there must be a reason behind it. So I think it probably makes sense to explore that. So I didn't even know where to start because I suppose we could start with movies and just talk about it, I suppose.
I think it's a good topic to get stuck into because it is like about how they make you feel, isn't it? Like, and when we talk about mental health and emotions and things like that, then I don't know. I suppose it's the thing about being manipulated, isn't it? Like a good film sort of manipulates your emotions and takes you on a bit of a roller coaster, depending on obviously the type of film. You've got ones that scare you, you've got ones that make you sad, other ones that make you laugh, have you on the edge of your seat, that kind of thing. So, I don't know what sort of films jump out as ones that have had a particular effect on you.
Like emotionally in that, would you say, or just like, aye.
Aye.
In anywhere, I suppose. It's had an impact on you.
I know, like, probably growing up in that and stuff, like emotionally, and it probably sounds like quite weird in that, but if you're of a certain vintage, E.T., just like, I don't think anybody went to see that in the cinema, and I think everybody watched it on, like, it was probably like the first pirated film, and I remember, like, seeing that as a kid. It was like, it was mind-blowing, I was quite, I don't know, I remember just hit me, but it was like one of those things where I was like a kid, but I didn't want to cry because I was watching it with my family, and then my wee sister nipped me and I burst into tears. And I was like, no, bye. But I remember, like, because I'm well into cinema and stuff, I remember, like, the first time I went to the cinema, the first time I seen was Empire Strikes Back. I never seen, like, Star Wars. I jumped right in with the big one, Empire Strikes Back. I went to see that, and it was just like a mad, like, experience. So, like I don't know, just love cinema, big screen and that, and you're just like engulfed with this story, and it was mad because I hadn't actually seen Star Wars. I just had the figures. I was like, I've no idea what's going on, but I always remember they showed a film before it, and it was like a short film, and it was like sort of set in medieval times. I think it was quite famous actually, and I just remember thinking, this isn't like Luke Skywalker or Han Solo. What's going on here? But aye, and it was just a bit weird. And it was like a guy trapped under trapped in a river under ice or something. It was really bizarre. But I think it was really famous. But what about yourselves? When was the first time that you think that you were like, boom, like it's hitting you emotionally, like stuff like that?
Like E.T.'s a good shout. I remember I was at my friend Warren's house and he was watching it there and getting to the saddest part of E.T. and panicking, like you say, because they know it would be crying, and especially in front of your mates. Like at that age, I think even as an adult, like as an adult male, it's still difficult to cry at something. Like in a film, there's still like a bit of pressure. Like you feel like you shouldn't really be upset about it. It's like Up. You ever seen the film Up? I maintain Up is the saddest film I have ever seen. There's that wee segment in it, and I'll not spoil it for anybody that's not watched it, but there's a segment in it. I think it's because you're not expecting it. So I sat down and watched that with the kids and stuck it on, and you think it's like a Disney Pixar, isn't it? So you're thinking it's going to be like a Toy Story or something, and then you get to this bit, and I'm going, "Oh my God!" And I can feel myself welling up, and I'm like, "I sit crying in front of the kids at a cartoon." So I held it in, like I proper did, but I was like, I could feel a tear coming down, and I was like, "This is genuinely the saddest I've ever felt."
Disney films are good at that though. They've always been good at that. Yankee Bambi and all the rest of it as well. Like they've always been good at the the emotional side of stuff
Manipulation,
and
like,
telling
definitely.
those stories and sort of the heartfeltness
Yeah.
of the stories. They've always been good at it. 'Cause it was E.T. Disney as well. No,
Nah, that was Amblin. That was Steven Spielberg,
Spielberg.
Kathleen Kennedy,
Aye.
and all that. That was brilliant. That though. But and I think the whole thing with ET is a bit where you like, because that was, you got to remember, that was before the internet and stuff like that, and it used to take ages. People find it hard to believe for films to come out,
Mm.
like in Britain compared to America. But this was like, as I say, everybody had it on like pirate video. There's a bit where you like, he's just grey and like Elliot's grey and stuff, and Elliot's like that, we're dying, and then you're in floods. But it's the emotion that flips, and again, hopefully, no spoiling it for anybody who's actually no seen ET. But it's the bit at the end, and you're like, no, they're going to get caught. They're going to get caught. And it's that brilliant, cheesy like BMX chase. They're going to get caught, and then it just like starts flying, and then that, I was like, you're watching it, and even now you've got like goosebumps and that, and it's the sort of the emotion of like being so upset at one point to like so like ecstatic the next as well. But nah, it was amazing. Steven Spielberg's a master of that. I think the emotions. Do you know what I mean?
See,
Plays it.
just,
If you like, Schindler's List is another one as well, like, which is unbelievable.
I've never seen Schindler's List. Just a wee quirky coincidence, right? There's some DVDs fell down off the desk earlier, and the one that's literally at my foot right now. I can see it. E.T.
E.T.
How weird is
There
that?
you go.
But
You
no,
It
set
is.
that
It's
up.
his thing.
Used to have set that up. You have talked about this, and look at this.
no set up anything. There's the other one behind it, Sex in the City. I've no watched that one.
Aye, right.
Do you know E.T.? Do you know that it's not even out the wrapper. That so we obviously got it at
Oh.
some point, and with the aim of showing the kids, and then just
Ah, you got the night for
just
this.
done it.
Prop.
No, who buys DVDs anymore? I don't even care. Well, I could play on the
I know.
Xbox, I suppose, but
Somebody must. I was in HMV the other day there at Ocean Terminal, and they've got like half the shop is DVDs.
Aye.
And I remember
it?
standing there thinking that I was like, "Who's buying DVDs now?" I've got tons up the loft, and
Aye.
I keep like Kim's always like my wife's always like to me, "You need to get them chucked out," and that I was like, "No, these are good DVDs in that." But then I'm
Aye.
thinking to myself,
When do you watch them?
What am I
Aye.
doing? I've not even got a DVD player.
I know. I'm just going to put it on Netflix. Oh, there it is. Yeah. Oh,
aye,
Disney Plus.
that's it.
There
You
it
can
is.
just
Yeah.
Google it, and
Aye.
you can have it on playing in no time. Do you know what E.T. short
Yeah.
for?
Because he's got wee legs.
Aye,
Oh,
hold on to the best.
I like that one. I
Aye.
know. I know. See, I remember going to see Up, but because we used to go and see like the cheap films when they like go and see kids films. I don't know if the cinema still do it. It'd be like £1, or they do them for a couple of pounds. So you'd wait a while. So they weren't on DVD yet, but you'd go and like, it was a cheap way to entertain the kids. And we went to see Up, and I'm really like, you need to be there like for the trailers and the adverts and all that. I'm well into the cinema experience. But somehow we were late, and we were late by about like 15 minutes. And like the sad part that you're talking about, Matty, that happens right at the start. So we're walking in, trying to find our seats and that, and everybody's crying. I was like, what's wrong with me? What's wrong? Sat down, and then I was just like, it was all right, that actually. And then I remember telling folk I went to see Up, and they were like, I was really sad. I was like, nah, it was all right, like, and it's not till I watched it. I was like, how the fuck did we miss that bit? Like, but we walked in, and everybody's like, just like sobbing away there. Like, I'm like,
There's
It's a
the one,
proper emotional.
the one that's out
Yeah.
fairly recently was that Upside Down or Inside Out. Inside Out is called which is another animated one. It's about a wee girl,
aye.
and it's all the emotions in her
Mhm.
her head, so basically what she's going through and all the difficulties. That was really sad
Aye.
as well. Really well done. Like again, just
Aye.
a sort of a how to make kids understand about emotions and mental health and things that impact them. I thought that was fantastic for it. Like really well done, and it's sad
Yeah.
as well.
The other one was
Yeah.
more recent was Soul. I don't know if you've seen Soul. It was it was
Aye.
quite similar, I thought, to Inside Out in terms of, but it was I think it was like sort of underlying themes of like the afterlife, and where you go in the afterlife, and it was just basically like this jazz musician. So there was a lot of like musical stuff. And that's I think Disney are great at, is the music that accompanies the films is
Yeah.
always like Toy Stories. Like everybody knows a Toy Story song.
Yeah.
You got a friend in me and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, like they're just so good at having those. It's almost like a grown up emotional version of what South Park do every episode, where there's always a tone or a message around the film or the episode that's kind of just, it's no in your face, but it's subtle enough that you understand it. And and it touches you and you can relate to it in a lot of ways. They're just the masters at that, absolute masters.
So
Yeah.
I suppose. I
you can
suppose
go.
we've got like the sad films are the obvious ones. We're talking about like how it affects you emotionally. What about films that have had like a sort of like a proper impact on you? You've watched it and then you've sat for ages after it and maybe thought about it for days afterwards, and whether that's a message of the film or just something about it.
I was going to seven. Sorry,
No, on you go.
£7. The Will Smith film is the most upset I've ever been at a film. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's absolutely incredible. Like that film deserves so much more credit, and it got. I'll just a brief synopsis of the film. The guy, Will Smith's character, was involved in a car crash. An accidental car crash. He had killed 7 people. He couldn't live with his cell, so then he went around basically finding people that needed organs to survive, like organ donoring. And he found these people, and he basically, well, it's been it for fucking years. It's not as if it's yesterday. I'm going to spoil it, but he ends up basically taking his own life in a certain way and writing his will that all his organs have to go to the specific organs go to these people to save their lives. And it's honest to God, like just unbelievable. I just sat bubbling most of the way through the whole film, and I must have watched it with no one after it came out, and that must have been maybe 15 years ago or something like that. And it still sticks with me. I've never watched it again since because I just couldn't bring myself to do it, but it had a massive impact to the point where I genuinely think it made me consciously think about things in life, and maybe even made me a slightly better person than I was before I watched the film. Like genuinely, the think like that. Even though it's just a film, like a movie. It's just like if we can dream as human beings to do something like that, or we can achieve things like that and do stuff like that for people, like that selflessness. I just thought it was just like so fucking powerful and it's one of the things like I always like to think anything other than like obviously ridiculous sci-fi stuff, but like drama stuff, probably 9 times out of 10 someone somewhere has went through it in real life. And I can imagine that story, even though it's slightly outlandish, similar things have probably happened. You hear about people donating their organs and all the rest of it, and doing all these things, and can't live with themselves because of such and such situation, and yeah, I just like I don't know what it just opens something in my mind. I don't know what it is. Like it just an absolutely like incredible film. I highly recommend anybody watch it, but keep the tissues ready.
No,
I hadn't even heard it before.
Is Naomi Watts? Is Naomi Watts in that? Am I thinking that she's in that?
It's is it Eva Mendes?
Eva Mendes. And they were in Hitch as well, eh? Which was a brilliant film.
I think it was maybe her. Is it one? The one? Oh no! Is it no? That Alexandria? Fucking hell! Wait, I'm going
So
after
everybody's jumping on IMDb. And now, by the way,
Rosario Dawson.
And
Woody Harrelson's in it as well. But it's Rosario Dawson that he kind of ends up falling in love with a wee bit, which makes it like a lot more emotional. But that's my film that's like always stuck with me for those reasons.
What about you,
I
Neil?
probably like definitely a couple. One of them, like my favourite from all time, is Goodfellas, which I just remember seeing it and like swaggering about afterwards, and different sort of impact when you're just thinking it was like genius, like total genius. But second best film's Dead Man's Shoes. I don't know if either one of you have seen that.
Paddy Considine.
It's outstanding.
And it's like, and I remember one of my mates as well at the films. They showed it at the Edinburgh Film Festival. And he says, "I've seen this film. It's amazing. You need to watch it." And I remember it being pitched as it's like a slasher film, but for the point of view of the slasher. And I thought, imagine like Freddy Krueger, but for the point of Freddy Krueger. So I totally expected a different film. And then it came out in the cinema for about a week. Didn't go and see it. And it came out on DVD. And I was like bevied. And I was going out that night from my work, bought the W.H. Smith, took it out with me, got bevied, came home, and I started watching it at like 3 a.m. And I thought, this is shit. And then the following day I was off and I woke up and me and my wife I was like, we were going out that later on that day, we were both off, and I was like, right, I've heard this film's good. I started watching it last night. It's shite. Let's just put it on. It'll probably not be my cup of tea, not be your cup of tea. And we both watched it, and I was like, never seen anything like that. One way that like properly stays with you for like ages. Do you know what I mean? And it's that thing. What would you do, like for your family and stuff like that? And I think it was that touched me like massively. And it's still like you think about it like now and again and that. But another film would be, I don't know if either one of you have seen Whiplash.
The drumming one.
Aye, have you seen that,
J.K.
Matty?
Simmons.
No, I haven't seen
Aye,
it.
unbelievable, like really good. And it's Miles Teller. J.K. Simmons. So Miles Teller's a young guy in New York, and he's trying to get into like a jazz band as the drummer, and it's like the most prestigious jazz band in New York. And J.K. Simmons is like the teacher of it, and it's that whole thing where like he pushes him, and it's unbelievable. Like it's like worse than bullying what he does and stuff like that. But I remember I watched it and I thought this is like a difference between like wanting something and deserving it. Do you know what I mean? So the young guy, wants to be in the best. He wants to be the drummer in the best like jazz band there is. But does he deserve that? And no matter how good you are, do you know what I mean? It's like footballers and that, or like anything. You could be a footballer and you want to play for like, I don't know, Man City, but do you deserve that chance to play for Man City? And I was in like after a few years after seeing it, I was in therapy and I was like saying to my therapist, like there's a difference between like deserving something and like wanting something. And she says, nah, there's no. And I went, there is. And she says, no, there's no. We had this big massive argument, me and like my therapist. And I was like, I think I'm right. And she goes, nah, you're not. She says, what about prisoners? They want freedom, but they don't deserve it. I was like, nah, you're totally missing the point. And I just remembered like I just thought it was like a really good way. And it's like a sports film as well, without giving anything away. The last half hour is like so good. I watched it in the cinema. It was a preview and like folk were cheering at the end, and just like the build up, no actual ending, which is it's brilliant. But nah, and it's that thing where it's sort of like how far, and without giving too much away, what sacrifices do you make? Do you know what I mean? Are you greedy or are you just ambitious? That was brilliant, like really good. What about yourself, Mike? What's like sort of like properly touched you? Not in like a dodgy way, but
I know what you mean. I mean, there's loads. I remember first time I watched American History X, like
another
that.
good one. Aye,
Yeah, and obviously it's supposed to be a powerful film. Like I think this is you sometimes get a film that's unexpectedly powerful. You watch it and it's not been sort of framed as like here's a hard hitting subject. American History X, if you know the story and everything, the whole subject is emotive, and the way that the story is driven and everything, it just kind of captures you. But for ages after that, when that film finished, I was thinking about it. Just loads. Actually, we did a thing when I worked at Sky. So I was in a team manager at a retentions team at Sky, and you get my team didn't save that many movies, right? That's what you'd say. Like if somebody phoned up saying, "What cancel movies?" and they would just say, "Oh, we'll get it for free, or we'll get it half price," and they never really sort of were passionate about films. And so I'd said to my boss one day, I said, "Listen, I'm going to take my team. We've got like a wee conference room set up with Skybox, and I'm going to take them in. We're going to have a movie day with them, and I'm going to show them American History X because I think they'll watch it. They'll be that moved by it that they'll be able to talk passionately about a film. And I want them to connect with films in that way, so that when we try to save them, they did it anyway. As it happened, the Skybox didn't work typically, and instead we watched Naked Gun, which was on the plan. And Naked Gun's
what a film!
one of my favorite films. It had a totally different effect on the team, where half of them, like all the young team, and the team were just saying, "What the fuck is this?" And the old ones, like I was like, kind of creasing myself, like this is like the next best thing to watching something that totally moves you is to get something that totally makes you laugh. But obviously, sense of humor is a bit more subjective, isn't it? American History X. I love things that when they finish, they leave you thinking about it for a long time. Like Sopranos, for example, so not so much a film, but a TV series. Sopranos obviously is talked about as one of the greatest bits of TV ever made.
I've never seen it.
I tried to watch it, but I couldn't get in it.
No, that's controversial. We're probably the only two guys that have never seen it.
I think so.
So I would
Solidarity.
thoroughly recommend, and I cannot stress this enough, thoroughly recommend you give it another go and just watch it. So we were late to the party. It was after James Gandolfini died, and Sky showed it. They just went, here, we'll put it on box sets from start to finish. as I said to Jane, we'll watch it and you just get hooked. But when that finished, and it has like a controversial ending, but we
I heard about the ending. Like I was like, I'm not bored of it now. I know how it ends. But
we genuinely missed the family you wanted to find. Like, the next day when you're like, we've not got any more to
aye.
watch. What are we going to do? And you wanted to find out what his wife was, how his wife was getting on, how the other guys in his gang were getting on, and it was just like you were so absorbed in the story was so good that you actually felt like you knew the people, and you were so invested in the story that was being told and the characters that for ages you were like, what happened to them? What happened to the family after it? Like,
Aye.
what? Do you know how the whole bit about it? It was really really powerful. I love things like that. I love how TV or film can just grab you like that, and then before you know it, your head's just somewhere completely different.
Been a big shift in like the quality of TV programs, I think,
Mm.
the last few years
Aye.
because of streaming platforms and like
Yeah,
big movie stars and stuff are coming like with never before. Like
No.
back in the day, like your Brad Pitts, your whatever, wouldn't the day TV shows? I mean, I still don't think he ever has, but like those type of big movie stars, just when they come in it, and now it's just because of streaming platforms. And that's one thing I was going to bring up because you mentioned a few times, Neil, about how much you love the cinema experience.
Mhm.
And I was actually yesterday I put on because in Disneyland there's a new ride that was just finished when I was there last year, the Tron ride.
Mhm.
So they've got this new thing that's just opened. And because my missus is obsessed with fucking Disney, she's got it on the blogs and vlogs on the YouTube and all the rest of it. Like, Christ's sake. And which is great. She's happy and so I'm happy. But I said to the wee man, I was like, oh, I need to watch Tron. Tron's a great film. And I said, there's a new one as well, like a newer one that was really good. So, but watch the first one.
Daft
Stuck it
Punk
on.
soundtrack, get it on.
The newest one is aye. But stuck the original on. Just a fantastic film, like way before its time. Like it was 81 or something. It came out.
something like that. Yeah,
Like this CGI and everything was just well, it wasn't really CGI. It was just all like models they made. It was all like neon stuff. But I was saying to the wee man, I was like, because he started asking questions about, oh, did Grandad go see this, or did he watch it on the telly? And I was like, but when this came out, it's like it came out at the cinema. And if you didn't see it at the cinema, you didn't see it for months until it
about
came
a year
out on
maybe.
VHS. Aye,
generally about
maybe
a year,
even
wasn't
aye. I was like on the telly, there was 4 channels, and you didn't have YouTube or Netflix or anything. And he was like, what? I was like, I was like, no, it's like, and I said you're lucky if it was like 20 films a year or like that actually came out at the cinema. Like there wasn't just constant films all the time every week you could go see, and there were only like so many times they showed them. So and you're saying about the cinema experience in that, I think it's been like diluted from so if you think about it from an emotional perspective, obviously that's what we're trying to like explore. I think it's been diluted by like all the online content, how readily available it is, or do you think because there's so much you'll always be able to find like a diamond in the rough?
I think
there has an element.
Your phone dilutes
I
it
know you go.
more than the experience. I think the cinema, because TV's never so big now, you can you can sit in your house and still get a sort of pseudo cinema experience, but your phone, because folk can't leave their phone alone for 2 hours to watch a film, 2.5 hours to watch a film, depending on what you're watching, then your attention goes, unless the film's absolutely banging and draws you in, that you didn't think about anything else. As soon as there's a lull, and this is what I find with myself, unless I'm really disciplined with it, as soon as there's a lull in the story or the action or whatever, pick up the phone and see what's happening on WhatsApp, and it's just habit. And then before you know it, you've got an ear on the film, you've not quite watched it, and you're looking at your phone instead. And so you lose it there. So I suppose the cinema, you keep your phone in your pocket, don't you? Like there's more chance of you being invested in it there. But I think that has a big impact. Sorry, anyway, I jumped in as you were about to speak.
No, totally agree. I totally agree. I think it is that there's like more distractions in that. And I think now because of like YouTube and stuff like that as well, people have got like shorter attention spans. So you feel for like kids because you want like I know we're sort of like an age of like Avatar, however long that is, like Marvel, it's like 3 hours. Well, I'm sure like Black Panther was almost about 3 hours, like taking for the trailers and all that. But then you're watching clips on like what TikTok's what 30 seconds or whatever, like on average, or like a minute, and it's like you've got this thing, and it's like, because I was speaking to youngest daughter, and she was like, "Oh, we'll go and see Puss in Boots." And someone was saying the same. Was like, we've pretty much watched it all on TikTok. I was like, "How he's watched it already on TikTok?" Do you know what I mean? And it's just like this thing where it's like, but it is, and it's like it takes it away from it. But I just love the whole like the experience of going out, and then you can, I don't know, it's just different. It's just like it's that thing you're in like in a room and it goes silent, and then. But there's things I hate though that ruin that, like when folk are laughing at adverts that have been on the telly a million times before, but they're like there's always somebody's like, oh, you're like that. Shut up. Do you know what I mean?
Unfortunately, the only thing about the cinemas, you've got to deal with other fucking people. That's
I know.
that is the problem. There's always somebody chewing their fucking moof off next to you, or taking their shoes off with their bare feet up in that.
That's how I order that.
The
thing is, unless you go yourself, and most of the time you go to the cinema with somebody, but yeah, then it's a shared experience, which again I think makes it more powerful than watching something just on your own in your house. As if you,
I don't know, like,
if you're the missus that are, or can you go with your pals or whatever it is, you have that shared experience with them. You go in, you have the anticipation of what you're about to watch. You get your popcorn, your hot dog, or whatever. You take your shoes off, you put them up in the seat next to Gordon.
And then, your toenails.
Then you watch the film, and then when you come out, you sit and you discuss it. And you're like, "Oh, that was fucking brilliant," or "That was shite." Or my mate Stevie went to watch Rogue One, to the Star Wars film, right? Unbelievably good, right? I love Rogue One, and you know the bit at the end where sort of Vader comes out. And he's like a huge Star Wars fan. So he went, "Oh yeah, can't like that." And he's sitting in the cinema, he just forgot what it was. And there was a woman with her kids next to him. She's like, "Do you mind?" She totally pulled the move for it. I think that there's that shared experience thing that Neil, you're saying, do you go on your watching films? You know,
I'm the same, and it's the same like going to football and that, or going to concerts. I could do it by myself quite easily. And there is that thing, like you can engage with folk after that. But if you're like there, concerts are different because there's noise and stuff like that. Football games as well, I suppose. But imagine if like you just spoke all the way through like a football game or all the way through a concert. You're going to do the same for a film. Do you know what I mean? You're going to go sit in there and like, what will be this? What will be that? What will be this? What will be that? What will be this? So I don't mind it. Like, do you know what I mean? Because I'm well into films and that as well. Like, I don't mind it. But it would get annoying if like somebody's just like, I don't know, I'd get annoyed if somebody was just talking all the way through it. But yeah, I don't mind that. Either or, I suppose.
I think it's definitely like what you were saying, Matty, about like the distractions and stuff. If you're noticed, like you can be more focused at the cinema. That being said, though, I can't remember like that many films I went to see that weren't the big action-packed fucking switch your brain off blockbusters at the cinema. You didn't usually go and watch like, I don't know, like The Notebook or something like that. Like at the cinema, usually, like folk obviously do, but you usually go for the big screen and the sound system and the popcorn and all the rest of it. So it's like even though I totally agree the cinema experience is great, but it's like from an emotional perspective, I'm not really sure how much value me personally gets out of going to the cinema. Because I'm quite attentive when I watch it in the house. I get annoyed when folks fucking even in the house making noise like try fucking watch this.
Is that not escapism though? Like and that's the value you get from it when you go to watch the big blockbuster. Because I know, like when I go to, and you're right, it tends to be those sort of films. So I get excited. I like all the kind of geeky stuff about the special effects and the music and shit like that edge because I'm a big fucking sad old bastard, right? But you can, that thing about just switching off, that's why I love the football, is you can go in for 2 hours, you're not thinking about the bills or what you're going to have for your dinner or kind of the stuff that you've got to do when you get back home. You're like, just watch the football, just going to get lost in the action here, or there's 3 hours of a Marvel film. I'm going to watch Iron Man blast some aliens for a wee bit. It's just total fucking meaningless. But I can lose myself in it for a wee bit. It's not important. There's none of it. There's no like a big hidden message there, or even like a in your face message with it. It's just action. That you watch Die Hard. Like Die Hard's an amazing film because you can just watch it and you go, this is fucking great. Go on, Bruce. And he just kills loads of folk, loads of baddies, chucks a guy off a building at the end, and then you're like, that's broad that. and then you feel good after it. So
Aye.
I don't know, like whether you feel the same. Whether that there is that value in escaping for a couple hours through the action films.
It's this escapism thing is really interesting because I've thought about that like quite a few times when I've been so like for TV shows, for example, I've got like TV shows that I'm absolutely like I've always loved. Like so, my favorite TV show ever. Like, it's got to sound like a proper geek now, right? Stargate, Stargate SG-1 is like to me just the holy
You're a
grail
geek.
of TV. I
Aye.
absolutely fucking love it, and I'm currently through my Christ knows what run through of the whole thing, and there's like 10 seasons. Yeah, and there's like 24 episodes in each season, so it takes like quite a long time to get through it, especially
Aye.
I didn't have as much time. But it's and the reason so in most of the TV shows that I love are sci-fi or fantasy. It's like
Aye.
Game of Thrones, like Last of Us right
Mm.
now is just absolutely peak TV and it's fucking brilliant. And I know it's like
I
I
kind of get it.
It's
Kind of
good.
get it. Eh?
bollocks,
Kind of get
fucking
it.
bollocks.
Aye.
but it's just like the reason, and I think the reason why it's the reason like I'm dead into comic books and I always have been, and the reason why
Aye.
I'm into sci-fi and fantasy TV shows is and films is because it is that form of escapism where I could just like get almost transported in my mind into that world and into
Aye.
that all the stuff that they're doing. You just forget about the fucking real world and all your problems for an hour every day because you just get fired into there, and that's what I just absolutely love about it. Just the worlds that have been created, and that's what I think. Just like because I always say this about I was trying to like teach my oldest laddie to like read more. Well, I wasn't
Mm.
trying to teach him; I was just telling him to read more, and he was never. But he's absolutely obsessed with movies and TV shows and that. I was like, every single movie and TV show you've watched was a book first like
Mhm.
in some form. It's a scripts, right? A script is basically a book written in a certain way. It has to be written first. Someone has to do like actually do
Mhm.
that. It's like reading the book gives you that much more detail and all that kind of stuff. But it's just like so the medium, like the connection between the those mediums, the storytelling in movies and TV shows and things like fantasy and sci-fi you've got to be like a proper creative person. Although there is some utter shit out there that anybody could come up
Aye.
with. But you've got to be like, I see the Planet of the Apes films. I think they're fucking amazing.
Aye.
Like, I just think they're absolutely great. For the newest ones were fantastic. The old ones for their time were fantastic. And even just that concept and somebody sitting there thinking that up and thinking about
Mhm.
how it came about and the virus and all that kind of stuff and how the monkeys became evolved and all that kind of stuff. It's just, I think like these people are just brilliant to create this
Mhm.
stuff and they give us so much. It's that escapism. And I think a lot of people use it for that.
Do you just
But
have
see in the back of oh no, on you go, buddy, on you go.
I said, do you have like a go-to? See if you want to feel a certain way. Do you have a go-to film or TV show that you would put on just as, do you know, whether you wanted to calm down or be happier or be less happy? Do you know, like sometimes you want to have like a wee bit of
Mhm.
just like, I don't know, just flattening out a wee bit. Do you have like a go-to you'll stick on to say like this is just I know it's going to impact my mood, so I'm going to watch it and I'm going to enjoy watching it because I want to feel like that.
I think The Simpsons is for me. Like it's still. I never watch it. Like I wouldn't like. I used to religiously watch like the new ones and that come out. I don't, but you can stick it on. I know it's probably not as good as what it used to be, but there's still stuff in it which is just absolute genius. Do you know what I mean? And it's like how much work have they put into that? It takes them ages to make
Mm.
like an episode. There's no like months in that. They're like working on it, and there's like what 27 minutes and stuff, and it's just like some. It's just you could get one line in that which is like funnier than like a series of like other stuff. So I can just put it in the background or like just sitting there at like 12:30 on a Sunday, Channel 4, just put on and it's just like away in the background, and there's like so many like, and I love The Simpsons for stuff like that. If it comes down to films, like because I've not got like DVDs and stuff like that, the same thing. But there's films that like if I stumble upon it, I'll watch it like, and I'll try and like rewind it or whatever the I don't know what the terminology is nowadays to go back to because it's not a tape, but you
There's
know what
no
I mean. That thing
rewind,
when
I
you
think.
go back to the start. And Ocean's 11 is like I think that's probably
What the original or
nah like
the
the
Brad Pitt and
like Brad
George
Pitt,
Clooney?
George Clooney. It's like cinema perfection, just for like start to finish, pretty much. don't know, like Goodfellas is the best film ever, but I think that's just such an easy watch, and it's brilliant, and like they're absolutely like all on form. Do you know what I mean? They're all like amazing looking, brilliant cast. It's all like the script and that's brilliant, and it's just like Vegas as well, which is an amazing place to be. And it's that whole sort of David v Goliath thing. You can just sit there and watch, and it's like they're not going to get. I'm not going to spoil it, but you're like, not going to get away, not going to get away, and that's brilliant, and it's still are perfect. I can just sit and watch that as if I've never seen it before. I love that film.
Yeah, it's class. So mine's like, well, I said Stargate there for TV shows, definitely. Like, just honestly makes me just so happy. Even like the theme tune at the start, I literally like just brings a big smile to my face, and I've actually found myself just like fucking ridiculous, like going like this to the theme tune, going because it's like a big like orchestral thing, and it's just honestly, and I just get fucking so into it. But films, my like, if I need cheered up at night, like, I cannot tell you how many times I've watched this film, but Old School.
Aye, good film.
Will
Ferrell.
Ferrell and Luke Wilson and Vince Vaughn. Funniest film ever. And no matter how many times I watch it, I just piss myself laughing every single time. It's just absolute nonsense, but just brilliant nonsense. And that is my like go-to feel-good film. That just picks me up every single time. It's just absolutely fantastic. What about you, Matty?
Airplane would be like, or
Airplane's
South Park, like those ones. Team America is another one you can put on and sort of very quickly find yourself. I like the silliness of them all. That really. So we're watching What We Do in the Shadows.
Oh, brilliant!
And it was Raymond that sometimes comes on the Longbangers had recommended that we were through at the St Mirren game a couple of weeks back. And he says, "Oh, you need to watch this." By the way, because he put me on to Toast to London. I said, "Watch that." I love Matt Berry, and he says, "Well, he's in this," and it's just it's nonsense. And I love that. I love the fact that it's like the wee looks to camera, the wee things that just make you chuckle. Just like it's absurd. That and the Office, you know, like the UK and the US one now, which I kind of recently watched. I very quickly can would for more serious ones. I love Fight Club. I like that one. Again, that's another one that makes you sort of think as well, and it's got the twist. And Usual Suspects is good for that as well. I could pretty much watch Usual Suspects, stop it and put on again and watch it. I just love it. It's like an amazing film.
So because we've talked, both of you have been on the Twisting Your Melon podcast, and obviously that's about music and mental health. So similar, like with movies and TV shows, and like in terms of because one of the main themes that we've kind of explored in that is that everybody interprets it differently, right? So like a film that we've mentioned loads of films there. There's probably some that folk have just went, that's shite. Like you can say, Neil, I'm not like, I can't get into The Last of Us. Again, it's just kind of started and it's no finished yet. But everybody else is really, and I think it's absolutely brilliant and all that kind of stuff. Because when you mentioned American History X earlier, and so this is a really extreme. I was contemplating whether I tell this story or no, because it might be construed wrongly, but like, please do take it wrongly. I was at a gig at, in fact, it wasn't a gig, it was an album launch from a mate. So album was getting launched at the Banshee Labyrinth up at Toon in Edinburgh. And there was and I'm not going to say their name because they'll probably come in my house and kick my head in, a famous biker gang for Glasgow. Most people know that, so like the Hells Angels version in Glasgow. And they were there, and in the Banshee Labyrinth, they've got like a sort of like mini cinema room, like an old style cinema room, and they're watching American History X. And we were waiting to get in, and so we had some drinks and that, kind of standing outside, and it was just these big scary bastard. I'm there with my wife and like my mate's sister and all that's kind of there, and I was just like, fucking hell. And there's that scene with the curb in American History X, they fucking all cheering and like proper happy about it. And I was absolutely awful. But it's like it genuinely, and obviously there's a political thing there and all that kind of stuff, and a hatred thing there. But still, at its core, that film is like, and that is an extreme example. That film is meant like such a different, contrasting thing to those people than it does to everybody fucking else.
Aye.
And it's just like it's mad how things like that can be construed like so differently by, well, I imagine it's other things that go in your life and how you've been brought up and all that kind of stuff. But again, that's that's a massively fucking ridiculous example, I suppose. But what the point I'm trying to make is that you can interpret a film or a TV show or a piece of music or anything completely different for someone else, and it can either make you feel angry, happy, sad, and all the rest of it. So I think I was going with that other than making that point.
You wonder
with
with American History X, where they fought the second half of it again without like giving anything away. Like, did they stick around to like think? You know what I mean? The perception of like.
No, I didn't think it did, because I think that scene was. If I can admit, I've not watched that film for many years, but I didn't think that scene's like near the end or anything, and they weren't in there for much longer. So I'm wondering if they just like fucking turned it off, which wouldn't surprise me. Hoping they fucking works, because it'll be. I've just seen the motorbikes fucking pulling up outside my house.
See, with the escapism thing's interesting because for me there'll be times that I'll like watch something, and it's like maybe like I suppose with like Whiplash and stuff like that. I didn't watch it directly for that, but there was a film recently. I mentioned it on the chats and stuff. After Sun, which is unbelievable, like unbelievable. It's got that the Irish boy's been nominated for an Oscar. Paul, what's his name? I'm going to forget his name. Is it Paul Miskin? It was in like Normal People and stuff like that, and it's like a brilliant film about a guy from Edinburgh goes on holiday with his daughter to like Turkey, and his daughter's like 11 and he's like in his 30s, and it's just the two of them, and it's in the 90s, so there's like that. It's the sort of like Britpop-esque soundtrack, and it's brilliant because it's a thing like Matty, what you were saying, how it doesn't ram it down your throat that the guy's struggling mentally, but it's like implied, and there's like wee bits, like wee sort of things that are dotted through it, and it's just like it is like the best depiction I've ever seen of like mental health. So for me, I went to see it in the cinema, and it's just like even though you're away like in the dark watching this film, you like afterwards, like I couldn't stop thinking about it, and it's like it's unbelievable. And again, I'm definitely not going to give anything away, but it's just the fact that you can relate to stuff sort of directly and indirectly. And the very, very last scene is like one of the best final scenes I've seen in any film. I think the woman who directed it's from Edinburgh as well, which is unbelievable. New girl, and it's like a Hearts fan, but we'll not hold that against her. But you're watching it, and there's like two uses of music as well. Again, without giving any away, with songs that both of you will know played, and I'm not going to give it away how it does it. But you're watching it, and it's like, because you know how sometimes music in films it's like, I'd love a job where you get to pick like songs in films and TV shows, just so it's not like when friends come to like London, it's like London's calling for the Clash and all that. Just that's such a cliche. Do you know what I mean? Because this film uses two really good pieces of music, important point, but it does it in such a way which is brilliant. And so for escapism, it's sort of like I found it like really like engaging in that and thinking, no, this is good. Like just to go away, see this film, and then it sort of made me think. But I love like the big blockbusters and stuff, but no, it sort of really took me in. But After Sun, honestly, can't recommend it highly. Best film I've seen last year. Best depiction of mental health. And
what's it called? Sorry,
After Sun.
After Sun.
But I can't remember the guy's name, the Irish boy's name, and I totally forgot. But he's really good in it. Really good. Well worth a watch.
Yeah, does sound good. There's loads of good indie films and stuff like that go overlooked. Like I know, like the award ceremonies are getting quite better. Like there's Sundance and stuff like that bring these films to the fore. But again, like just the whole music side of stuff, like it does make such a difference. Like see, like Trainspotting, fucking soundtrack. I mean, it's a great film,
unbelievable.
But the soundtrack just makes. See, if a soundtrack was like something else, I don't think that film would be as good as it is. And it's the emotional side as well, because like I'm sure I talked about it on the Melon podcast, that there was a YouTube video that I watched. It was like almost like a documentary thing. Some guy had took like famous film clips and he had like just stripped the music out, so it was just like the folk talking or something going on. I was just like shit. It's like the music, like, and it invokes like the emotions in you as well, like it accompanies the actions that are going on in the film. And like, so a film that has a great score Like John Williams and Hans Zimmer's and everything like that. The guys are just the masters. Like Raiders, like fucking Tomb Raider, Indiana Jones, and like all the Spielberg stuff actually, and George Lucas stuff. Those soundtracks.
John Carpenter as well, like
Aye.
Halloween, directed it, and he's like Dennis Waterman in the Little Britain sketch doing it all, like directed it,
the theme tune.
The theme tune and that. But it does. I think and I'm well into like stuff like that as well. Definitely, soundtracks make a big difference. You try to get the best packages possible, like for that, but just to sort of take you away, it totally engages you. And the more sort of senses it hits you, then the more, the possibility it is, it can engage you in that way.
The BBC, the film Drive, it's got Ryan Gosling in it.
That's a great soundtrack.
Amazing soundtrack. The BBC
Great
did
film
it,
as well.
and they put different soundtrack on it and showed it. It was like they just did it as a kind of quirk, and it totally changed the film, which is weird. You wouldn't think it would, but it totally did. Much better than the original soundtrack. Like the original score was.
It's quite an atmospheric film, that, isn't it?
Again, that's another one that I thought about for a while after it, and like it's selected. It's not everybody's cup of tea. Drive, but it's that sort of hyper violence in it, isn't there? Like at the moments, it's just like, no, it's a bit much. But it sticks
again,
with
it's that thing where like they don't like ram it down your throat, but he's got the confrontation with Ryan Gosling and Albert Brooks. Is that it's no a conflict, but they meet for the first time. And I think Albert Brooks goes to put his hand out to shake it, and Ryan Gosling's like that. My hands are dirty. Albert Brooks is like sore mine, and it's that because straight away that's it. Like this is like, you know what I mean? That's the scene set. And I love that in there, but it is not. Do you think sometimes it's like films where they try too hard to like engage in people, maybe be like a cult, or maybe like emotionally like try and press too many buttons and stuff. Whereas like Disney seem to do it well, but some other times like Marley and Me and stuff like that, I'm really that fussed. Do you know what I mean? They're very manipulative. Like I don't know.
Using the dog to like
to
try and make you feel emotional. Which and like I think I remember actually feeling a wee bit like upset about that film, but I can imagine why most people were just like, this is fucking nonsense. Because you're right, it does come across as a wee bit forced. But
telegraphed.
But see, like, because there's that element to it, but there's also like I see like recently. I don't know why this is, but the more shock and awe that's in stuff, the more people like it. So Game of Thrones, for example, like The Walking Dead was there as well. And the film that comes to mind for the ending is Old Boy, the original Old Boy.
Great.
My word!
And just think, but these like they're just become massive because of those shock things, like Game of Thrones with the brother and sister stuff and all that kind of stuff, and the way folk were getting killed and everything. Like, why do you think like is it just because we're all fucking sadists that? Because that's why they become like I genuinely believe it was if you take all that stuff out of it, like Old Boy was a great film. If it wasn't for that ending, I don't think it would be talked about. Because I think the original film, well, especially in the West, it wasn't considered that great a film when it first came out. It became kind of like a cult classic, and I think a lot it was to do with that ending. And I didn't think it would have been like even known over here much if it wasn't for that ending. I think it's just like
I don't know if it's whether it was sadists or whether it adds to the escapism because you throw it, so it gives you that bigger sense of thank fuck that's not me. Or thank fuck it's not real. Do you know that you can detach? Like Game of Thrones is a good one for it where you can detach from reality because there's dragons and stuff like that. But like you said, it's really graphic. I mean, for whatever thing you want it to be graphic, whether it's the violence or the sex or the language or whatever, it's got everything.
I've never seen Game of Thrones either.
Game of Thrones is really
it's
really good. But I think it makes you sort of realise it's no real. It's like the slasher horrors and everything like that. You kind of go, well, it's gory and everything. But it's not fucking real, is it? Like it's easier to detach yourself from it. I think when it's that extreme.
I've never been able to get in horror films. I didn't like any horror films because
I love horror films.
I'm just wired that way that I think the horror film that I really remember watching and thinking this way was The Exorcist. and just
Mhm.
pissing myself laughing at how fucking ridiculous it was. Because I think
Aye.
I'm just wired that way, but I think everything too literal. And I was just thinking like, what's this fucking just so fake? This doesn't make any sense. Even though I'm so into sci-fi and fantasy,
Mhm.
like from a horror, because I think it was, maybe it's like me trying to be Billy Big Boss and thinking I'm no fucking scared of this to a certain extent, and then just that whole like that's just ridiculous. That just doesn't make any sense. That person wouldn't be in that room at that point, or why did you not just pick up that fucking gun or the phone or phone the police
Mhm.
or whatever? And I'm just constantly picking holes in all the horror films. So I can never really get into them. But
Mhm.
folk love them. Folk love getting scared by them. That's just another genre of film, like another genre's storytelling through the medium of film that folk just absolutely love.
It's
Mhm.
escapism again as well, isn't it? It's that
Uh,
thrill of somebody else being in danger. It's like on a roller coaster where an implied danger there, but you know it's all right.
Uh-huh.
You know
mhm.
Aye.
you're going to be scared. You're going to get a fright, but ultimately you're going to be safe. It's like a good way to get your pulse racing.
Mhm.
That is definitely. The reason I think so. I think you're right about escapism thing, but a reason I think that people like the Games of Thrones and well, if like you talk about Old Boy and that shock and all is because I genuinely think people are a bit everybody's a bit fucked up, and
Mhm.
Yeah,
I genuinely think folk think that I can this is the closest I'm going to get to be able to live this and see what would happen if I did
Aye.
something like this. Like I genuinely think everybody has a wee bit of that in them. I think it is just human nature. Like you go back to the cavemen and stuff like that, just fucking bash each other's skulls in if you felt like it. Like
Mhm.
I genuinely think there's a wee element to that where it's like, well, I can go see this film. There's somebody got to get their skull caved in, or something ridiculous like a Game of Thrones, or the ending to Old Boy, and then like think, well, I can see how that would possibly play out and what would happen, but I didn't actually have to fucking do it. And it's just that wee bit
Mhm.
of self sort of I don't know what the right word is. No satisfaction anyway, but like realization maybe.
Mhm.
yeah.
But that's just Matty. I'm no fucking
No.
psychologist, that's for sure.
Aye, it's interesting. Interesting. It's a funny thing when you step back and see like why you watch all the stuff that you watch and
Mhm.
the emotions that you're quite happy to just be manipulated to feel.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's all good, isn't it?
Sometimes you need like a good like. I love like horror and stuff, and it's just that sort of. And I suppose it's like watching reality TV or that, or even now like on social media, where there's an element of gossip and like tabloid headlines, and you're thinking you like to read about it or you like to watch it or absorb it, but you're thinking, thank fuck that's not me. Do you know what I mean? That's
Mm.
like, but it's like obviously in like documentaries and stuff and reality TV, there is like reality and for other stuff, it's like fiction and that, but you're like that, and it does give you that way to like sort of get away from it and that, but aye,
I was
it's
gonna
like you're like aye,
I was literally just going to bring up documentaries because there's like a massive
mm-hmm,
uptake on documentaries. Netflix has basically become to the point I cancelled
aye,
Netflix because it just became a documentary hub.
aye.
And folks seem to
I don't think
absolutely.
anybody. I don't think serial killers existed until Netflix came along.
Oh, it's just
Like I don't know. Like,
yeah, it's just
aye.
mental. There just seems to be somehow they managed to film and interview every serial killer that's ever existed.
Aye.
Christ knows how. But what's your take like on document? Do you either these like documentaries or?
I can get into them. Um,
Aye.
again, why do I like them?
Because that's
I like how they get caught. Like that's the bit I like is
Aye.
how somebody figured it out and where have they gone wrong. That some of
Aye.
these, or you know, like the making a murderer one, for example.
Aye.
I guess you've both seen that, right? Because it was huge in it,
Uh-huh.
I've seen. I know of it, but I haven't seen it.
right? What grips you in that is the injustice of it because you're sitting, you're going, no fucking way, and then
Mm,
the
Aye.
next thing happens, and you're going, well, that's outrageous, and then the next thing happens, and you're like, fuck, this is, you feel like just personally offended by what's happened to the boy and like how the system's fucked him over and everything. And then
Uh-huh.
you have to take a wee step back because you're like, oh, this has been presented and narrated this way to make you think like
Uh-huh.
that. So is it actually that? And you might have to do a bit more digging. But I like all that kind of things. If it stokes your interest in either you you want to find out more, or the story is compelling enough that you get emotionally invested in it. And some of the documentaries do that. And some of them I like just learning about stuff as well because of it.
Aye.
Kind of geeky that way as well.
Documentaries nowadays have almost become synonymous with the bad stuff, right? So everything you kind of mentioned there was like fucking some murderer movie. As soon as we started talking about documentaries, we're talking about murderers and all the rest of it, and that's what Netflix. But and the reason, and it's gone back to that whole thing that I think that people are just a wee bit sadistic, is that you hardly ever see, and there obviously is a Discovery Channel and all that kind of stuff. And there is like Planet Earth and everything. There is like great documentaries that are like really nice things. But the big documentaries and the thing that people want to watch now is awful fucking things.
Aye.
Like they're just obsessed with it, and I think it's because it's that other step closer. I feel like horror films or the shock and awe kind of stuff to like that's actually fucking happened.
It's curb twitching, isn't it? It's the equivalent of like if there was a fight in the street outside your house, you'd want to watch it, but you wouldn't want to be seen watching it in case they clocked you. I used to live on Berners Street, and you'd always get something like at the weekend. There was always something kicking off. Then you'd watch it at the window and just like, hopefully they fucking look up my window, get tanned here. But it is that being able to sort of peek into somebody else's life, that voyeurism, really, isn't it? Like what's happening, especially horrific things, because do you know, like if there's an ambulance in your street, the first thing, fucking hell, I wonder what's going on there. Or a police car, ambulance or a police car, either of the two. You'd go,
both of them, and you're like that.
And you would love to be in the room to find out what's going on.
Of course, nosy.
That's exactly what it's like, though, isn't it? And you get the documentary, like the Madeleine McCann. Obviously, that's in the news now because that lass has come forward and says that she thinks she's Madeleine McCann. Have you seen that?
No. I've seen a bit.
This is fucking nuts, by the way. And so there was the Madeleine McCann documentary, which was massive on Netflix. This girl's come out now. She's got, do you know Madeleine McCann to be defect thing? Like her pupil was like had to be dripping it almost. This lassie's got the same thing. She's like the same age. She doesn't remember her childhood. She's like PTSD from her childhood, loads of memory blanks. And she's like, I want to get I think I'm Madeleine McCann. I want to get like a DNA test. She's got all these other similarities, like dimples or something that Madeline had. And this is where they're at now. I think they're going to do it. And can you imagine the twist? Can you imagine if they did a DNA test and they go, that's her? Because everybody was like, our parents did it. Everybody slaughtered the McCanns. They all knew what happened and they murdered her.
Still could have, though. They could have sold her off.
Well, they could have done. But can you imagine they get it right up here? That they would have to the whole world pretty much if that happened. But again, that documentary was popular because everyone was like, "Thank fuck it wasn't us," because the McCanns they did wonders for babysitters, right? Babysitter they wouldn't have got business before because everybody took the moral high ground about mums and dads, or you left like your parents sleeping and you went for something to eat. Fucking loads of parents did that back then. Back in before pre-Madeleine McCann, that was not frowned upon at all. And then that happened, and everybody was like fucking on the moral high ground. Oh, you can't do it. And nobody left their kids again after that. Like just they did it because if they disappeared, they were going to get absolutely hammered for it. So I can't remember where I started that, but anyway. I don't know,
I went off on a tangent.
It's because folk are glad it's not them. That's it. It's that thing. What it could have been me, because not me, because I wasn't a parent, or I was a parent, but man, I went to the resort. This sounds macabre, but it's not. My flatmate, or my old flatmate, Adrian, his brother owned an apartment in Praia da Luz, which was next door, like literally. I'm not. You know, folks say literally, they mean figuratively. I'm talking literally next door. Like there was a wee alley. Madeleine McCann went missing here. Their apartment was here, across the path, and we were there just after she went missing. So we still had the news. We'd booked a holiday, and then it happened that she went missing, and we're like, "Fuck, that's where we were going." And then we get there in the morning. There's like news crews outside the fucking door and everything, and mental. Anyway, that's taking us off a tangent. Probably a good point to wrap up there.
I was just going to say, I could talk about films and movies and that TV shows all night, but I think that's been fucking brilliant. Like talking about that kind of stuff, and I think hopefully, like, it would be good to do more of these kind of more upbeat sort of discussions and stuff. But obviously, there's loads of important stuff that we want to talk about, and we've got a bit of a list. But I think it if anybody's got any sort of suggestions around similar sort of themes and topics, then we can discuss it. But aye, hopefully it sparks a wee bit of debate on what's the best tearjerker or what's the funniest film. We'll get that on social
Just
media.
what's the saddest film, like, just before we go, that you've like ever seen? And I'll say probably, has anybody ever seen Who Will Love My Children? You seen that?
Just the name of that puts me off it. Like, you see the name of that and I go,
it's like I made
that out of bounds.
it's a made for telly film, made for TV film for the 80s, and I don't know if it's like Barbara Hershey and that, but there's like a family on a farm. One of them, like, the parents becomes like terminally ill. They make a decision. They've just got like adopted children and stuff. And I think the first one they adopt is the boy who's got Down syndrome. They've got like loads of kids, and it's just, honestly, every kid that goes, you're just like, who will love my children? That's the saddest film for me, definitely.
We should probably do that. Let's go through a couple of genres and just quickly knock off what the one behind before we wrap up. Just like a couple of minutes. So I think the saddest film probably that I remember, it's either £7 that I talked about, or there's a French film that was out not recently with the guy in the wheelchair, the sports one, basketball player or whatever he was. I can't remember. Can't have been that, because I can't even remember what it was called.
Did they make it? No. Did they make
something
it?
like that? Aye, something like that.
Like,
I can't remember anyway.
Aye.
But I did one of those two. But £7 was definitely, I think, for what I remember, the one for me. Will be my.
I'm going to stick with Up. I was broken at that. It was like horrendous, unexpectedly sad. So I'll stick with that.
What about funniest film?
Airplane.
Oh, I don't know, man. Funniest film? I don't know. That's difficult. Aye, something like Airplane maybe, or like Naked Gun, like proper, like going for it. Aye.
Aye. Well, mine would be old school, Superbad. Like Superbad is just absolutely incredibly funny.
It's the bit, even you don't have to ab-lib in it, but the bit where he's just like pulls out the fake ID and that, and he's like, "What name have you gone for McLovin?" And he goes like, "Mohammed's the most popular name," or something like that. I love that.
It's absolutely brilliant, isn't it? What a film that is.
See, on the saddest one, I've got a mate who absolutely boils his eyes out at Return of the Jedi when the Ewok dies and his wee pal's next to him. It was like, devastated at that bit.
Right.
It'd be good if he like went to the cinema with the boy he'd seen the other Star, like Rogue One or whatever. Both of them are sitting there at the same time.
Yeah. What about horror? Horror film. Best horror film.
One
that scares you the most.
Jaws. Seen it when I was a kid, and it like freaked me out. But like Jaws, I know like it looks. Like when I was a kid, I was like, I seen it was about 3-year-old, and I had a few. I couldn't even look at a picture of a shark. I had to be on my own terms. I couldn't like turn a page. Like, if I knew there was sharks, I was like, and the shark's got to get me. Even like, I still freak out with it, like, properly. And the thing is, the whole, again, Steven Spielberg, master manipulator. You don't actually see the shark until like 73 minutes in it, which is genius. Imagine a horror film where you don't actually see Freddy Krueger until like 3/4 of the way through it, which is unbelievable. Like, I don't know how he did it, but really, like, a couple of tense films. One of them was like Green Room. I don't know if you've seen that.
Is that the one with Patrick Stewart?
Aye, that was really tense. But probably the most tensest film I think I've ever seen. I used to like watch loads of horror films at night doing an ironing, because I love doing ironing. And I watched Eden Lake. Have you seen that with Michael Fassbender?
No.
Unbelievably tense. Just about a couple. He's going to propose to her at a place he used to muck about in when he was younger, called Eden Lake. There's loads of like travellers there, like sort of schemies now, kicking about. Something happens between the both of them, and it just escalates into like horror. But it's and at the end of it, I was like having a panic attack watching it. I was like, no way. But Eden Lake, that was really scary.
Have you got
Event Horizon?
Good show.
Aye, good
it
film.
is a fucking horrifying film.
Aye.
Just the fact that they go in and it's basically their fucking, well, it's hell, innit? It's like a gateway to hell, and it's their worst fucking fears like manifesting. And I watched it when I was pretty young, and I don't know. Apparently, there's like was it Paul Anderson that done it?
Aye.
And there's like a cut that he did that was like 10 times fucking more gruesome, but it never seen the light of day. And apparently, it's just gone. Like, it was just in one reel sitting in a warehouse somewhere, and it got destroyed or it got fucking damaged or something. But I can't imagine how that film could be any more fucking terrifying.
No Country for Old Men.
Aye.
I'm not sure if that counts as horror, but it's the only film that's ever given me a nightmare about a character in it. And I had a dream that the boy was after us, and woke up with a fucking sweats everywhere.
Nice. I'll wrap up there. Could go in other genres, but I think that's
Aye.
sufficient because it's getting late, isn't it? That was good. Thanks very much, guys. That was brilliant.
Aye, nice one. Thanks for tuning in, folks.
Cheers,
Cheers.
guys.
Cheers.
County line I pledged upon. Well, they trailed me down when I broke free. I drank all the whiskey in Tennessee. I don't drink